Yay, I got my resume shortlisted using AI. Yes. Now tomorrow I have interview with the director. Now I will prepare for that. I still got rejected in the interview. Shit. I did everything right. I rated the strategic thinker, but still the hiring manager was able to catch it. Oh, what should I do now? Are you having the same issue? You create resumes using AI, but hiring manager is able to catch what you have written, or you are trying to fake it. In this episode, I'm trying to break down this entire thing with director. We are going to understand what you should write and how you're going to justify that. Watch this episode and try to understand if even if you're creating the resume using AI, then what you should avoid and what you should write and how you can justify those bullet points. Let's get started. If you're new to my channel, then click on the subscribe button. A lot of informative content is coming on.
So I have Sonali with me. She is the director of engineering at Upskillist. It is a learning application. So Sonali, can you please share more introduction about yourself?
Sure. So I've been in the industry for past 17 years. I started my career as a software developer with Naukri.com and then transitioned into project management. And I've now evolved into a PMO delivery operations, cross-functional divisions. I also do a lot of writing and brand presence on LinkedIn for myself. So that's pretty much.
That's amazing. So I've been following Sonali from quite a long time on LinkedIn. I really learned from her posts as well. She is clearly highlighting what mistakes candidates are making. So Sonali, one question that came to my mind. So whenever you're writing about LinkedIn, what was the first thing that you got to know? Okay, I need to start writing on LinkedIn now because I've seen you basically share about people making mistakes. So what was that one moment that got you that, okay, I need to write on LinkedIn now?
It's more of a story, I think. There are two parallel exclusive journeys that happened and they coincided. That what actually pushed me to probably start writing. So I think this is 2 years back. There's a friend of mine. She was a college friend and she was trying to look for a new job. So,
Mhm.
normally when you talk with friends, you keep telling that you've been, interviewing people. And I have been interviewing people for now more than 12 years. And being in a cross-functional area, it gives you the opportunity to talk to multiple people with multiple experience, multiple roles. So she was like that you always talk about how people make these silly mistakes. The intent is not clear or they're not very clear in terms of what they are talking. So can you help me in guiding and mentoring and probably do something for me or just do mocks, help me prepare. And she was very apprehensive because she's not given any interviews for the past 5 years,
Oh.
right? So she was very scared also. So I did quite a work with her, and I think it was 2 months that we actually did
Mhm.
all the practice mocks and everything. And after that, she landed for 3 new offers. So
Amazing.
it was a big win for her, but absolutely a big win for me also.
Yeah.
And this was all pro bono. I was not charging anything,
Mhm.
no mentorship program. So then she started recommending a couple of her friends that, she's doing good, she helps you. Because
Mhm.
the way I do it, I don't have a specific plan,
Mhm.
pre-formatted framework that I use.
Mhm.
I talk to people, I do a couple of rounds, I understand where you stand, and interview has got a lot to do just not with your skill set or capability, but also how you present yourself.
Mhm.
So
Right.
when I say present, present your value to the people, how well they can relate to it. So you have to do a lot of work on a personal level also.
Right.
So then it started, and then I think this was a year back. Then one of the person told me, "Why are you not building a presence out of it? You're
Mm.
doing it. Start writing on LinkedIn." And that was exactly the time when I was actually also talking to people in terms of increasing our team size.
Okay.
So
Mm.
then I realized, that the moment you start asking, okay, tell me about yourself, and you'll say, hi, I am. Hi, my name is.
Mm.
That happens a lot. It's like somebody has just played the resume and you're just,
Yeah.
listening to it again. And then, so I started a different approach. I said, okay, tell me something which is not on the resume. And it was an absolute face palm moment. The person started, my hobbies are playing guitar. And I was like, oh no, this is going to work.
Mm.
I actually need a bigger audience for this to understand what
Mm.
basic mistakes people are doing. That's when I think a year back, around August, September,
Mhm.
I moved towards LinkedIn. I started writing to it.
Yeah.
I initially started with just normal project management.
Mhm.
Then I started a little in terms of how do you onboard a company when you start. Then, eventually when there are little presence that was built up, then I actually started talking about what are the, smallest mistakes people do that cost their interviews,
Mm.
right? And that was the apt time because the market was evolving like at a
Yep.
rapid stage. And it's still, we've not reached an equilibrium yet. So that's where I think because The biggest challenge right now is getting screened from the recruiter.
Correct.
Once you are shortlisted, I think you have to understand you're already on the top
Hmm.
applicant stage, right?
Correct.
You just have to do the right things to bag that interview,
Correct. Correct.
right? So that's when I thought, I think, okay, this needs a bigger stage. I
Hmm.
have to start writing. So it was still more of, all pro bono happening.
Cool, cool. Yep, yep. So I was also earlier working in project management only, and like
Okay.
later I spent my first two companies working in project management. Then I switched to product management. So I think I already uh, at the time market was already evolving a lot in the project management space. So I think I can
Yeah,
totally relate
yeah,
to it. How was that
yeah,
time? Yep, so amazing. One thing that I have seen is since you are already at the director level, so major of those candidates would be coming at you the place who have already filtered out. But there is
right.
one thing in that mind for every candidate who is appearing in the interviews that they have to be like, perfectly fine or, mistake-free kind
Yeah,
of persona. So what do you have
yeah.
to say onto
Yeah.
that?
This is pretty interesting. I don't know how you were conditioned. Like I was always conditioned with my mentor that once you're stepping into the interview, you have to be absolutely perfect when you're
Hmm.
speaking. And at that time, I'm talking about 2 decades before. English was such a major taboo that if you're speaking and you fumble in the middle, oh my God, your interview is gone.
Right.
So that was the perception, and I think a lot of it we are also bringing with us.
Hmm.
People who are talking, they still have, oh no, this person did not seem to be very confident. He was thinking, or he was, taking pauses. That's where I think we have a problem, that we are also bringing in that you have to be perfect. I mean, like you
Hmm.
said, you worked with project management. I think you will also, even with product, I think you'll relate that anything in, professional landscape, there's nothing perfect.
Hmm.
There can
Right.
never be anything perfect. You'll have scope creep coming in. You'll have design changes. You have some delays with the stakeholder decisions coming in. So there's never a picture perfect kind of a execution that will happen.
Hmm.
So our expectation that the candidate is also going to be actually perfect in terms when they talk is also not right, I think. I make a point when I talk to people, when I converse, I try to make it like a conversation.
Hmm.
I never ask, okay, tell me about this, and this was the scenario, what would you do? I usually start with, okay, walk me through with a day in your professional life.
Yeah.
So that gives you more sense in terms of
Hmm.
what the person was doing. You can
Correct.
probe in then, okay, what will you do in this situation
Hmm.
if this happens? How is the structure in your company?
Right.
So,
Right.
that person also comes a little ease in terms of
Hmm.
talking. That also helps.
Yep. I I think it's about breaking the ice when the interview starts.
Exactly.
Once the
Yeah.
person gets comfortable, they automatically start sharing information. I think which is very good also from the interviewing side also and the interview side also. Like both the sides
Right.
then get comfortable and then share and on all the alignment can be happening at the same time. So I think that's a really good
Yeah.
thing to start. Okay. And but one thing which I have seen is that whenever people tend to be, mistaken free, sometimes it happens that a lot of candidates or maybe not but some of the candidates tend to share some failures or at the
Yeah.
time from the hiring panel side it seems like I want to hire them more because they are sharing me the exact details of what journey they've gone
Right.
through. So like have you
Right.
ever encountered these kind of situations?
There are, and I think people are very specific in terms of telling that they are being honest here.
Hmm.
But for me, I think it is very important as a candidate, I'm speaking, like
Hmm.
when you're narrating any of these stories, you need to understand if you're talking about a failure,
Hmm.
any failure story. I mean, from my perspective, you're just narrating me a story, right?
Correct.
Failure story is a failure story when you tell me, okay, I failed here and that was it. The
Hmm.
moment you make that failure story stand on three major pillars, you talk about the failure, then you start saying that, okay, I took the ownership of this,
Hmm.
right? The second one, the moment you say, okay, from this failure, I had this learning, right? And the third, the moment you tell me this learning is what has changed me as a professional. I have started to include this particular learning in my framework, in my daily activity, or in my, the way I code, the way I write emails, whatever. I mean, the moment it starts to change you as a professional, then it's not absolutely a failure story. You're actually
Hmm.
showing maturity to the recruiting manager, to
Right.
the hiring manager. They understand, okay, this person is actually at a level who's already mature
Hmm.
and is apt enough to step into the next stage as well. Because
Right.
I think it's true to believe that you cannot have a picture perfect or a, absolutely wonderful going kind of a scenario when you start working
Right. Right.
professionally, right? Things will
Hmm.
fail. But the major important thing is all the failure has to be treated as a learning. And
Hmm.
you would have to depict very clearly when you're talking that this is the value I brought into the system.
Hmm.
Right.
Right.
So that actually gives you leverage when you talk about it that way.
Mhm. So in these kind of scenarios where people actually share their failures, so at the time, does it happen that, let's say, candidate who you're, let's say, hiring at a senior asset level, or maybe at a,
Mhm.
like lead engineer kind of level, so at that time, does it happen that this person is technically brilliant, or maybe they are good at conversation, but their like their current persona, that is, you are interviewing at the time, it can clash with existing team, or they are not able to get mixed into it. So how do you go about that, or any kind of scenarios have happened?
A lot of them. I have
Okay.
rejected a lot of people just because of that.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you the reason because of it. So, the combination of brilliant people, I mean, when I say brilliant, it could be technically from a product perspective, from a strategic perspective, brilliant people and grounded people.
Hmm.
That combination is very rare.
Yeah.
And especially, like I told you, we are a very leaner structure,
Hmm.
you know. And when you talk to such people, you'll have those clear, ticks coming in. So it will be all the conversations will be heavily reliant on I.
Hmm.
They'll because subconsciously you have in your head that okay, I am brilliant, I know it all, that's my persona. You either
Hmm.
have to go my way or it's a highway then,
Oh,
right? So
okay.
most of the I have seen it, and this happens a lot with tech guys,
Hmm.
because they are like, whoever the product is, I know this is not possible.
Hmm.
And the same technical brilliant person, if is a little grounded, they'll try to understand what exactly the requirement is there a
Exactly.
midway I can find out, okay, what do you want exactly? I may not
Hmm.
be able to give you the complete thing, but I can give you this,
Hmm.
right? Does that solve your purpose? So that is the conversation that I'm looking for.
Hmm.
So I make a point, I ask weird questions that I know are not possible, but I
Hmm.
want that conversation to happen because that's a
Correct.
real conversation that is going to happen.
Correct.
Now, what happens in these cases, they'll come back in normal discussions that it's I. A lot of I you'll see. All the new ideas, all the
Hmm.
creativity things, all the innovations would be I. Any
Hmm.
failures, anything that didn't work well was
Hmm.
a we.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know if it is intentional, but it is subconsciously there,
Hmm.
right? And they are
Got it.
absolutely, impatient in terms of answering.
Hmm.
So, again, that could be nervousness as well. But by the time you reach to that point, you understand whether the person is nervous or not,
Hmm. Correct.
right? So
Correct.
they'll not even let you finish the question.
Oh.
They'll be like, "Oh, I know the question. This is what you will be asking," and they'll start answering you.
Hmm.
And the
Overconfidence,
big
basically. Hmm. Hmm.
this I would rather mark it as arrogance.
Oh.
That comes into your this happens the more you progress in your career. The senior guys have that, sense that I have seen it all. I know this is how it works.
Hmm.
That comes into the head. And then when you try to give the feedback, that's when you see the snap happening.
Oh.
So, oh
Okay.
no, you should have given this more clearly in terms of question. It's not my job to give you the question
Exactly.
clearly. It is
Yeah. You have
your
to
job to
understand.
ask me exactly,
Correct.
understand
Correct.
the context properly, right?
Correct.
And the moment you start giving it, you'll see them snapping right away.
Hmm. Right.
And I think, especially in this era, it is really, really important for you to be very careful the hire you do, because all the teams that I'm seeing are going to a leaner structure
Hmm. Correct.
for the obvious reasons that AI is there to
Hmm.
amplify your work. You just need,
Correct.
instead of 10 people now, you need 5 people to do
Right.
it. And of course that budget can go into our AI.
Hmm.
But all the teams that you see, they're very leaner and they are a very good cohesive unit, smaller one. Even one wrong hire can disrupt your entire working ecosystem.
Yep. Exactly.
So you have to be very careful when you hire people now.
Yep. So I think this is a learning for all the candidates. Whenever you are showcasing your failures, you have to tell where you were responsible for, and you have to
That's
own that failure. If you're not owning that, you are blaming others, then definitely you're not going to get into
correct.
that interview. And another learning which I have also saw is whenever you are showcasing your success, then you are saying I, but when you are showcasing failures, that it is we. So you have to be very much careful. It's not like what you want to say, but if you want to clear an interview, this is for the candidates. Like,
Yeah,
you should know what hiring manager wants to hear from you. They basically
exactly.
want to know how much accountable you were for the work that you have done and what was
Right.
your exact role. So one developer cannot move a business of, like, in the previous podcast The guest also shared some example that one developer cannot make a move of $10 million. So right,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
one developer or one senior software engineer has to understand like how much was their contribution when they were working with the business. So I think this is a very
Right.
good learning for all the candidates.
And I think it is important for you to match the narrative that you're giving in the resume.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, like if you're mentioning, I'm not saying that it has to be always I or always we, but there has to be the right balance.
Hmm.
And you need to have the exact narrative what you're given with the resume. So what
Correct.
happens with ATS and all, it is brilliant now.
Mm-hmm.
It's brilliant. But then when you start talking, it is absolutely different thing. It's not
Right.
what was there in the resume. So just try to match it. And of course, talk about failures. That's actually what tells you that you're human, you're genuine, you've worked,
Hmm.
you've done your hands dirty,
Hmm.
right? But just make sure you turn it into a learning and a framework that you're using right now. That just gives
Correct.
you more credibility, more maturity, tells you you're okay. You're actually maturing in the role as well. You're understanding, you're learning, you're growing,
Correct.
so that gives you a lot of leverage.
Correct. Correct. I think you just basically mentioned that point with the increase in AI, people are, creating perfect resumes, but when we get
Correct.
into the conversation, it's a very total different person. So
Yeah.
I think this trend might be increasing a lot, but from hiring manager perspective, like
Yeah.
how you are tackling these kind of situations, and what one biggest mismatch you see these days that happens in the resume.
I think two things that I've seen, like I just mentioned, narrative is the biggest problem that I'm seeing.
Hmm.
Yeah, right. So, and the other is I know ATS actually tells you, and all the, screening, it tells you to probably have the impact mentioned of all the
Hmm.
primary metric that you worked on. It is good to put it, but put something which is more realistic
Hmm.
and adjustable, right? So if you are a developer, you're in a product, like if you're a
Hmm.
developer and somebody is working on a registration flow,
Yep.
right? And they come back saying you made a 25% uplift.
Hmm.
I mean, that is unrealistic. If you say it's a 2%, 5%, 10% bump in the
Hmm.
conversion, I can understand.
Yeah.
But with the 2 years of experience, if you're telling me you've made a difference of 25%,
Hmm.
that's absolutely something I cannot even understand.
Hmm.
Now, that comes in the moment you start viewing the resume,
Correct.
right? So, the biggest problem as a hiring manager that I see is I think I just wrote about this a couple of days back that I was reviewing profiles for our project manager, and what I was seeing was almost all of the profiles were very similar. There was no difference because you have those same metric.
Hmm.
You know what kind of an impact that you can write. They were similar impact. There were very few people who had written actually about a little higher metric, which is
Hmm.
governance, but other metrics in terms of SLAs and everything was there.
Yeah.
Absolutely same. So it was very difficult for me to pick
Hmm.
the right people, right?
Correct.
And I don't use AI at this point,
Hmm.
right? It's just all me. But the problem again, I was very scared that I'm not sure if I'm making the right choice in talking to people. Am I
Hmm.
missing the person who's actually genuinely, capable just
Yeah.
because they did not have that storytelling kind of a, skill?
Hmm.
So that's my
Correct.
biggest fear. One again was metric. The other thing which I think, like I said, the narrative.
Hmm.
So people have this, resumes, they're brilliant. I mean, everything is nice. And when you start asking, okay, walk me through, what you've done.
Hmm.
So there'll be people who will be saying that the resume is mentioned that they've managed a team of 20 people. And when you talk, when you have that conversation, you realize they have not actually managed. They're
Hmm.
just having a collaboration. They just collaborate with 20 people.
Okay.
You see a lot of things which are coming back saying we are doing stakeholder management.
Hmm.
Right. So stakeholder management is when you have multiple stakeholders. You
Correct.
you have your RSE. You make sure that you know how to communicate with each of them. You know who's responsible, accountable for all of their activities. Right. That's how you do the entire stakeholder management.
Right.
And when I talk, I understand they're simply reporting to one stakeholder.
Okay.
And the problem is all your star stories, scenarios, whatever you're talking about, it is exactly what you're doing. It is not what you've mentioned in the resume. So my biggest ask with the people is, I know you're writing your resumes with AI, not with AI, seeking help with professionals, whatever.
Hmm.
Take that similar kind of effort in preparing for the interviews also.
Correct.
Right. So whatever you're writing in the resume, please make sure your speaking just, resonates the same thing.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you're
Right.
actually losing a very good opportunity because, like I said, if you've already screened into an interview, you
Hmm.
have to
Chances are
understand you
higher.
were in the top. candidates. You cannot
Correct.
miss that attribute. So just put it all into it, do the right things.
Correct.
Wherever, so interview is not that you have to be great and everything, you know, there's the small things that compound together
Hmm.
to make sure that, okay, this is a candidate, this is an asset, have this person. So
Correct.
just work towards that.
Yep, yep. I can still remember from my experiences whenever I was appearing for the interviews in the past time. So basically, I prepare resume myself. I use
Hmm.
very less AI now, but still, in the previous times when AI was not quite that heavy, I used to understand the JD completely. I see myself that
Yeah,
if I'm aligned to that or not. Because when I go to the interview, I cannot answer something that I've written in the resume. So that's totally clear that
absolutely.
I'm going to lose that in that interview. So
Yeah,
what I used to do
yeah,
is like it is also learning for all the candidates basically that whenever something is written even before you are trying to apply, they have to understand what the JD is expecting. So I know people are with the
exactly.
easy apply button, with the quick apply button, Naukri.com. So people are just clicking on apply, that's
Yeah,
it. They are not
yeah,
even reading the
yeah.
JD. So I
Yeah, I
also
think,
have. Mhm, yeah.
yeah, like you said, there are a lot of things in it. I mean, I'm not saying don't use AI. At
Mhm,
this, the way the market is, you probably need to get to start using AI, otherwise you'll not be able to compete with the market,
correct.
right? But it doesn't mean you leave your thinking on the table.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
have to think through it also and
Hmm.
write things that you've not done, not necessarily, but just make sure that you understand what you're writing so you can narrate it right.
Yep. Yep. That's
Right.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. So there are still concepts I would say in my profile. I'm pretty sure would be in yours also that we have not
Hmm.
worked on to,
Hmm.
right? Because
Correct.
that's where our learning still grows. We still have to do X thing to probably still understand more. You know, there's a lot to learn and grow. And I think nobody's expecting you to be perfect or, you know, score 120 in the interview and you should be
Yeah.
coming out with flying colors. It's more about being genuine and
Hmm.
understanding that what you have written, you have done it, or you
Correct.
know it right,
Correct.
right? Just bring that value right into the interview. That should just do the magic.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And have you seen like these kind of like buzzwords are increasing in the resume these days? Like any
Oh,
buzzwords?
yes.
So what are those?
The, there are a lot of them. I think all the resumes that I'm seeing right now, they have such strong jargons written.
Hmm.
And you know, when people talk, they exactly narrate the same line that they have written in the resume. But the moment you start asking about the words, they're
They're
just
blank.
lost. Yeah, they're blank. They're like, yeah, you see the fumbling coming in, you'll see all the
Hmm.
rambles, you'll see that they're trying to collect all the thoughts, pull it together into a story, quickly weave it out, you know. You can see that.
Hmm.
I think the biggest one that I'm seeing these days is strategic.
Hmm.
You know, everybody is a strategic thinker, everybody is a strategic leader, strategic project manager, and it's fun. I mean, like I asked when I ask, what have you done from a strategy perspective? So it's usually the same answer. I've prepared a roadmap of 6 months. You know, just the presenter owner is different. So I presented it to my manager, I presented it to my stakeholder, I presented it to XYZ. That's what people understand by strategy.
Hmm.
And the moment I ask them question, okay, tell me decision that you've made, which was actually a little difficult and has impacted the business, what was it? Then you're blank. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're doing strategy, you should know what you've done.
Yep.
So strategy is not just presenting something that, you know, will be there for the next 3 months, 6 months. It's just not zoomed out picture of something.
Yeah.
Probably it is more to do with the decisions that you're not making and why.
Hmm.
You know, so you have to understand the trade-offs that you're doing. You can just
Correct.
tell me the definition, okay, this is strategy. The moment I give you three options and I ask you which one are you picking, you'll tell me this I'll pick, but you will never talk about these are the ones we should not pick.
Correct.
You know, that's what exactly strategy is.
Hmm.
And it's actually fun to see 2 years, 5 years saying that they're strategic leaders. So
Yeah.
it's yeah. I mean, people have to understand. I get it. You know, the market is really bad.
Hmm.
You have to do all this to get through at least the first screening.
Yep.
But then again, like I have been repeatedly telling to people, whatever you write, you can get your resumes done from wherever
Hmm.
AI people write, use AI. I mean, I use AI a lot,
Hmm.
but understand what you're writing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't don't give your mind, your brain retirement, please.
Hmm.
Make it a thinking partner, use it, and then you'll be like at a way better level than what you are right now. So just use
Hmm.
it right.
Right. Right. So there is one saying that says use AI as an unpaid intern, where you keep thinking to yourself and make all the
Yeah,
manual tasks with the help of AI.
yeah,
So this
yeah.
is the one key thing that people should do. So they basically have to read the entire JD, properly
Correct,
understand what it needs, and
correct.
then take help of it to create that first draft. Then once
Right.
the draft is ready, they just modify according to themselves what they know and what they have done and what
Right.
the JD is asking. So I think this should be the one small key framework
Right.
that every candidate should use, and they should
Yeah.
be able to get through the interview as well after that.
Correct. So you know the keywords, but the stories have to be your own, right?
Correct, correct. And
That's the only thing.
yeah, I think that story would always be individual. It would never be generic because every person has a very
Correct.
different experience working in different companies. So I think if that
Correct.
story is solid, it clearly showcases that, okay, I've done this particular thing. I know what were the trade-offs, what were the
Yeah.
challenges, and how stakeholders were being aligned at that place. I think
Right.
everything is very much clear. They don't have to make themselves from their own. But I
Absolutely.
think, yeah,
Absolutely.
so every candidate should be very much clearly following this particular, like
Yeah.
like it is a kind of a overview of a framework, but yeah, they should follow.
Yeah.
And sometimes it happens that once a candidate has given their interview and they're not hearing back from the hiring managers or from the recruiter. So, what should be the best way to follow up and after how many certain days? Because the hiring processes are getting more difficult based on the challenges
Yeah.
that all the hiring manager faces. So sometimes candidates gets frustrated. So what should they do once they have not heard back from the hiring manager or from the recruiter?
See, I always suggest all the people that I mentor, the moment you finish your interview, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's always this 5-10 minutes that are allotted to you. Okay, you have your questions, ask them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is a little off topic, but I would suggest to make the best use of those 5-10 minutes. Get the right questions. Don't put random questions like culture and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good 30, 60, 90 rule that is there. Go with that. Understand what to ask. But then to your question, I always suggest to start follow up right after the interview itself.
Mm-hmm.
You're concluding, right? When you say, okay, thank you for your time. It was a brilliant conversation. Tell something. I really enjoyed talking to you. I
Mm-hmm.
really look forward to hearing what the next steps would be. So you give a small nudge there itself that
Mm-hmm.
you're really excited. You want to be part of this organization. The team actually excites you. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm really keen to understand what are the next steps. And then I think moment after that, the same day, send out one well-structured email where
Mm-hmm.
you have your hiring managers, you have your recruiters, right? Again, start with saying thank you for the opportunity. It was great to have a conversation. I got to understand the organization better.
Mm-hmm.
It tells me I'm more, aligned to the values. And just pick one conversation from the entire interview, which was in your favor. You know
Mm-hmm.
that you've done brilliantly well with it and has should be also that it aligns well with the role that you have applied for.
Got it.
You know, talk a 2-3 lines, write 2-3 lines about it, and then say you are really excited to see what next steps are. Let me know if I need to do something, and I'll be really looking forward to have a reply from you or a listen from what you guys have for next for me. And just stop it there. I have seen so many people sending LinkedIn messages. What is the update? Is there any update? Or the email. So whatever the e-meeting invite you've got,
Mm-hmm.
people just respond back. Any update, any feedback,
Mm-hmm.
please don't do that because
That's
that kind of email is not going to get you anything. You're simply spamming. And even if you had any chance, that kind of
mm,
attitude shows, okay, no,
this
that's
is
that's
not the
not the right
one.
attitude. This is not professional.
Yep.
Right? So please don't do multiple emails, follow up everywhere.
Mm,
That's not going to add any value. It is not going to get you any feedback.
right.
It is simply going to annoy the hiring manager or the recruiter.
Yep.
So just do one well-structured email one. And then if you don't hear in next 4 days, fifth day, just do one more. That's
Right.
it. If you don't get with these emails, you have to accept the fact that you're not getting anything.
Correct.
So just be a little professional in terms of approaching that problem.
Correct. Correct. Yep. So I'll just repeat for the audience that whenever you are done with the interview, the end 1 2 minutes that you have, they should basically nudge at that time that uh
Yeah,
like when I can hear back, they're excited about the opportunity and they can, just simply have a small nudge at that time. Once the interview is over, they can simply reply back to that Teams invite or Zoom in, whatever it was. At that time, they can, like draft a proper email, pick
correct.
that one conversation where the conversation went well in their alignment and also in the job, and they should basically highlight that much and then just have a
Yeah,
small follow up again in that email that when it can happen. And then once they don't hear back after like 4 or 5 days, just do one more follow up, and I think you should be done at that time. After
yeah,
that, you should stop thinking about the interview. If you're going to
yeah,
get that chance, you're going to hear back, and if not, then you should move
yeah.
on with the next interview.
And please don't do WhatsApp messages or phone calls. That's
Yeah,
actually a big
that's really
no.
annoying. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it happens. I've seen people following up continuously on emails because this is the call that I've received the initial call from. This is the
Mhm.
number, and they keep calling it. It is actually annoying. I mean,
Annoying,
like,
yeah.
yeah, that's not the professional attitude. I understand the market is bad. You really need people are at a survival mode, you know.
Hmm.
I absolutely get it. I was talking to somebody who's got like 10 years of experience. He was ready to get into a job with, 30K of a salary.
Hmm.
So
Oh.
market is bad. So I mean, like, I'm not denying that fact,
Hmm.
but you're ruining your chances if you do and sound that desperate. So
Yeah.
just be a little cautious how you behave in
Hmm.
these situations.
Yep, yep. That's right. That's right. Okay, so since like market is really bad, if you have to text every job seeker like one message or one line of encouragement, what would it be?
Be kind to yourself. I think, I mean, like you said, the market is really bad. It is brutal, you know.
Hmm.
And what I've seen with people is with every rejection, the confidence goes down.
Hmm.
They directly associate it with a verdict on their potential, their identity, their capability. Please don't do that
Hmm.
because if you're looking for a job, you're applying for a job, it is just not your skill set, your capability. There are a lot of other moving wheels in the motion,
Hmm.
right? It depends on what kind of a company you're applying, what kind of a candidate pool is there, what is their urgency of hiring, right? And then what is their CTC bracket. So there are a lot of things that are in motion. It has nothing to do with how you are as a professional,
Hmm.
right? And the
Right.
second thing that I would really, really want to suggest people is get a mentor. We don't
Right.
have this concept here in India. But if you talk to people outside, everybody talks to people.
Hmm.
They
Right.
have a dedicated mentor because they understand what you're going through.
Correct.
And there are times, and I'm not saying do a very rigorous program with a mentor.
Hmm.
I'm not saying take a coaching and or something like that. And don't go with people who are like absolutely renowned.
Hmm.
Talk to people, whoever resonates with you. You think, okay, this person is understanding me better.
Hmm.
Just do a monthly one call
Yep.
you know if nothing all, it gives you all the positivity, it gives you all the upliftment that you need to keep going.
Right. Right.
And you don't have to walk the same shoes maybe the person had seen people going through or
Hmm.
have walked on themselves, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
they can just help you, guide you, be just walk with you.
Correct.
you know
Correct.
we we have that tendency. Family is there, they support, but they still do not understand what you actually are going through.
Right.
So having somebody else, they're not going to judge you on anything else. They're just there to support you. So that lifts a lot of weight off your shoulders when you're talking to them.
Yep.
Just get a mentor. It really helps. It really helps. I
Definitely.
still have one. I mean, like, I have all the time. I keep talking to them and they keep guiding me, not that specifically in terms of you know I want to reach the world, I'm doing XYZ, or I have to get
Hmm.
something. It's not that. I mean, mentor is especially just to be with you and guide you, no
Hmm.
matter what the
Right.
situation is.
Right.
So
Right.
just be kind to yourself and look out for yourself. There are so many people, they are ready to talk to you. Reach out,
Yep.
talk. I mean, that is important. Just
Yep.
don't take it to the heart. And I know it is very easy to say, but very difficult to do.
Correct.
Because when you are in situations where you're actually fighting for survival, being positive is the worst thing that somebody could say for you to do.
Correct. Correct. Yep.
But I think if you do not do that, your will to fight more would not be there.
Hmm. That's right. I totally agree with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
So
think
just
for
to
the
get
audience,
into it
yeah,
positive.
yeah. So I think for the audience now, since mentorship is also another important aspect because the job market is very tough. So if you want to reach out to Sonali based on her experience talking with candidates, and also if you need her help in any of the way, like how you can crack interviews also, so definitely feel free to reach out to her. I'm sharing her details in the description, so you can go and check it out.
Thank you, Rupinder, for that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Nali, I think we earlier discussed that AI is coming a lot into everyday life, and people are also
Right.
utilizing AI. I think that's a really good thing to like utilize AI for creating resumes and prepare for interviews. But what should be the extent till AI should be used, and at what places AI should never be used because we want to? Okay, maybe I'll let you speak on that.
Okay. So I think, like you said, like rightly said, I mean, AI is everywhere,
Hmm.
right? It's just not hiring as a division that is impacted. It's everywhere, be it sales, be it customer support, tech, product, project manager. It's everywhere. So if I just focus on hiring to start off, if recruiters are using it, candidates need to use it, right? And not just because X is using and Y needs to use, but also the amount of volume that we have in the market.
Hmm.
It is practically not possible to do it manually, right? I don't know how true it is, but then when you see on LinkedIn, there are jobs which are there in the market just for 2 hours, and you see more than 3K, 4K profiles already. People have already applied,
Hmm. Right, right,
So you cannot manually expect a person to go through those 3K profiles and then come back with something, right?
right.
There has to be an automated system in place.
Hmm.
Now, again, to make sure that they go through, they are able to pass through that system, candidates also need to use it. I mean, there's
Hmm.
no way, no doubt about it. You have to use it.
Correct.
But my only challenge and thing is people are losing themselves in using AI to an extent that they absolutely, lose all the experience that they have gained in their past,
Mm-hmm.
right? Working. And when they talk about, they're so focused in what we have written in the resume. How do we get through it?
Hmm.
Right? That's also a very big reason people get rejected
Got
because
it.
that gives a sense that, okay, this person is still trying to struggle, to frame it right. Because if you worked on something, it just comes out seamlessly. You don't have to frame anything. You don't have to think on, okay, why have I taken that choice or how it has actually helped me in the coming future after I've taken that choice or the trade-off that I made. If you have framed everything, I mean, just don't lose yourself in the process. If you've framed everything, it'll be easily caught.
Hmm.
Use it as a partner, but don't lose yourself in the process, right? And I
Right.
think it's just not that. Uh, Use AI, but you also have to grow yourself. I mean, it is no longer the way it was before the era where, project managers just had to do project management,
Hmm. Right.
or people who are in tech. I mean, I'm talking about people who are a little 7 to 8 years plus kind of an experience. Somebody who's doing customer support just needs to be aligned in their area. That's all.
Hmm.
Now, if you don't know what is there good from a product perspective for the market, if you do not understand business, you just cannot have a seat on the table.
Right.
That's for sure. When all the roles are blurring. I mean, I think you'll also agree with me that we don't have anything like a person who's just managing people now, you
Exactly.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
unless and until you don't know what the calls that you can take on your own, you
Hmm.
don't understand what you do as a business, you don't understand what your people want, right? What your customers want. You cannot relate to it. You cannot take the calls. You cannot do work for it,
Right.
you know? So AI is absolutely reducing. We are actually working in great alignment, especially when it comes to speed.
Hmm.
When we talk about AI. What we are working on, and any process, I'm just not saying hiring, any process, we are just fighting for speed at this point. All the narrative that you'll hear people talking, it's like something that we could do in 10 days, we can do it in 2 days,
Hmm. Right.
right? We are not talking about fit anymore.
Correct.
That's the only challenge, I think. And again, it's been here, we are evolving, but I think there's a lot of evolvement that still needs to be there.
Hmm.
To first, we're still understanding the technology, right? And it'll, I think, will take us some more time to get to an equilibrium stage where we say, okay, these are the contexts, these are the right guardrails, these are the this is the system that would be using AI for clarity. But post that, you would need to step in, bring in your judgment, bring in your experience, and
Hmm.
then take the right call. So I think that kind of an equilibrium is still to be established,
Hmm.
but I hope we are getting there.
Yep. Yep. Got it.
What do you think?
Uh, I think AI is still evolving, so a lot of information is already there on the internet, and it's very overwhelming. I mean, that was my next question. Basically, I
Yeah,
wanted to ask. So, AI is every new release happening every day. Some
yeah,
companies coming with a new product, some companies coming with a new tool. So I think a lot of information is already present, and people are finding it really, really challenging. Even the industry leaders with whomever I talk to, they're also
keep pace
filing,
with that.
yeah, to keep
Yeah,
updated with everything. So that is one big challenge that everyone has right now.
right.
So I've also listening to some podcast where there were some other industry leaders. They were saying that even at the leadership level, we are still struggling. Like, how should we adopt AI? How should we? Because it is evolving so fast, like people never
Yeah,
imagined. And Now the expectation is coming more that we should adopt AI into our lives, into
Right.
our, like enterprise applications, everything. So I think that is one big challenge that is happening these days. But talking from a candid point of view, how, like, what should they do so that they don't get overwhelmed with all the information? Like, what should be a kind of a very like overview kind of holistic approach they should follow while keeping themselves updated with the AI technology and tools?
I think first thing is you need to understand what your positioning is,
Hmm.
right? As a person, where do you see yourself solving something? Or where do you think you are bringing in value? You know, so that positioning has to be very clear with the candidates. Once that is clear, please approach the related tools.
Hmm.
That's what people are doing in mistake, that okay, this is the new tool, let me see, this is the new tool, let me see, okay, let's go across. So that's gonna drain your energy in the wrong direction,
Correct.
right? If somebody is actually, say, a product manager, I don't know how well a tool which is not related at all to your domain, something which is, say, suppose, I mean, I'm just getting all the tools which we
Hmm.
use from a
Hmm.
product only.
Hmm.
So something, I don't know, anything, say, suppose something which is just to automate a process,
Hmm.
you know. If that tool is not adding any value, just because it is there in the market as a buzz new tool that has come, it's pretty, famous. You don't have to get into it.
Exactly.
Don't drain yourself. So for that, again, it is very important for you as a person to understand what is your positioning,
Correct.
right? And then make sure that you are very clear with the process that you follow in terms of your working. And this
Hmm.
is, I'm saying, in terms of your professional work.
Hmm.
Unless and until that is not clear, you cannot come up with tools and say, okay, I'm doing this automation, I'm creating this agent, it'll help me, right? So
Hmm.
that contextually has to be crystal clear for you
Correct.
to pick up the right tools. Otherwise, it is simply noise that you're adding it.
Right. Right.
Right. So don't get overwhelmed, because honestly, looking for a job itself is a job in itself these days. So
Yeah.
you cannot just pick up your resume, keep applying. It doesn't work that way. I mean, like
Hmm.
and if you're doing it right, every profile has to be studied properly.
Hmm.
Every JD you see, you'll be picking up the right kind of keywords. You'll make sure it is done right. You
Correct.
have to frame the stories right so you can actually explain them also, right? So it's not an easy job.
Hmm.
So you're anyways drained, and like I said, AI is still evolving
Hmm.
and it'll keep evolving.
Yep.
There are certain tools which are at a stage that you see, okay, this is a value add. The founders have also seen the value being coming in and they've stopped it there. Again,
Hmm.
little advancements keep happening. Like
Yep.
Gamma is a very good example,
Correct.
right? They've seen they're at a very good pricing level. They see the values already coming in from the market, but they're doing optimizations.
Hmm.
They're not
Correct.
reinventing anything right now,
Yeah.
right? So there are certain tools. 11 Labs is there.
Hmm.
So their entire propriety of voice is there with them.
Hmm. Right.
Right? So they are doing optimizations, marketing, but it's not that they're going to do it all over again.
Hmm.
Right? So pick up things, and for one thing, also you'll have a lot of tools. Pick the right tool that actually solves the purpose you're trying to do.
Hmm.
Okay, and just go in that direction. Don't go that, okay, I have for voice, I'll go with this workflow also, I'll see 11 Labs also. With website, I'll see Gamma also, I'll see Prezi also. Please don't do that,
Yeah.
because you don't have that amount of energy or amount available with you.
Correct. Correct.
So be very conscious where you spend your energy.
Hmm. And I think financial matters also here because most of the tools are now paid. There was a time when
Oh,
all the tools
yes.
were free. Now most
Right.
of the tools are paid. So I think it's very important that wherever
Correct.
any person is spending their time and money, it becomes very important that they choose it wisely and whatever
Right.
best suits them. So I think that
So
is
it
one key
was,
aspect.
I think initially a year back, we were more in a market fit kind of a stage.
Hmm.
Companies which have figured out, okay, we are there to stay. You see, the impact is now changing. The financial model is now changing,
Changing. Yep.
right? So even with, a lot of AI tools, what I'm seeing right now, the basic models were pretty brilliant and decent a year back. Now
Hmm.
their value has degraded. So if you
Right.
want a better value coming in, you've got to go to the next plan. You
Correct.
cannot stay with the same plan. So that's a
Yep.
financial model. Eventually, they have to come up something like that with the way they
Hmm.
are also spending on the tokens.
Right.
So that is going to happen. But that, yes, you cannot keep up with the pace with the way AI growing,
Yeah. It's very
right?
difficult.
Especially for the candidates. Especially
Hmm.
for the candidates. I mean, it's a fact. saying that, oh, I can actually catch up with everything that is happening in the market,
It's not
it's not
possible.
practically possible,
Yep.
because there are a lot of domains and you don't even know which domain can actually impact you.
Hmm.
So just for that purpose, it is very important you get your positioning right. And it is not just for tools, it also helps you communicate in the interviews, write your resumes right, because you know that this is what I am as a person, this is
Hmm.
what I will do as a person.
Correct.
Right? So that helps a lot, because I've seen people coming in that I'm actually looking for a job. I said, okay, what are you exactly looking? Project manager, scrum master, you know, and then project manager also, product manager also. I've done both things. I said it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, right,
Have
right.
to pick one. You have to go full force on that,
Hmm.
and then go from there. It
Yep.
cannot be okay. Let me try all areas and I'll see which one works
Which one
out.
works out? Yeah, yeah. I
It
think this is
doesn't
a
work
very
that way.
common mistake. I mean, candidates too. I also talk with a lot of people, like, they have the same thing. Okay, I want to try project, but also I want to try product also. So I have
Yeah,
background of AI also. I want to go into the AI engineer also. I said, I
yeah,
think
yeah,
you totally said that right.
yeah,
It does not work like that way. Just pick
yeah.
one niche and focus on it entirely, and then maybe after a few months, if you're not able to crack it, then maybe just go to some other role.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See,
So I
I
think
understand the market is bad, saturated. You are in a very bad stage. You want to try all areas,
possible options. Yeah.
but the market is not that generic people would be chosen in
Hmm.
any way. In any system, any process you go, if you are generic, they'll just push you out.
Hmm. Right.
And to not be generic, have the right positioning, act with actually right niches being mentioned, you
Hmm.
need to put your full effort into that particular kind of a role, or the right positioning that you really want to go forward with.
Right. Right.
That's how it is to do. Again, doesn't work out, try out something else. That's the reason it is more so important to not apply with the same profile all the places.
Correct. Correct.
Find the right positioning. Maybe, I mean, like there are people, like I said, roles are blurring.
Hmm.
Maybe there's a person who's got a very good product mindset, but has been working as a project manager,
Hmm.
thinks he is capable enough to apply to both places. Have two different separate resumes ready where showcase something which is good as a product manager in the one which you've written for product manager, and what is good with project manager, you
Other
write
than
it
that,
there.
correct.
Yes, just
Totally
just
agree.
have that done. Don't go around, okay, I can do all.
Hmm.
That will never get you anywhere.
Yep. Yep. Totally agree to it. I think yeah, that's a very good learning for every candidate. Just pick one niche and go full force on it, and then maybe let's see, like, let's reflect back and learn from what mistakes you
Yeah,
have done. I think then you should be able to at least get something in this tough market as well. This is where your positioning
absolutely.
will matter. And if you want to
Absolutely.
improve your positioning, then yeah, I think Sonali will definitely help you get that. So go and check out her details and then definitely reach out to her. So she will definitely guide you on how you can make your positioning much better and how you can crack all those interviews process and everything. Okay, I think amazing. That was an amazing session, Sonali. I also learned a lot from you. So thank you so much for your time and for all the learnings that you have shared with all the audience as well. So thank you so much for your time.
Great. Thank you, Rupinder. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for having me. I
Yeah,
think it was great talking to you as well. We'll probably do some other session just talking again.
yeah,
I think
definitely.
a lot of insights came into it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.